Well, big year. Been a bit happening in the off-season. A lot's been said, and the club's been sort of tipped to go into a bit of a decline. Where do you see all that?
It's a good first question, mate. Yeah, round one's an exciting time, and they're all big years, and yeah, they're all big stories, aren't they? So we'll focus on what we can focus on, and we just completed a pretty good session off a really good week, off a pretty good pre-season, and we're looking forward to the possibilities.
Do you feel like the off-field stuff has affected the pre-season?
No, the fundamentals don't change, and my job's to prepare the team to play as good a football as it possibly can, to develop the list and look for our best performances on match day. The players' jobs are to continue to come to work and to improve and to maximise their contribution to that aim. And I understand that in the world that you guys live in, that there's been up to half a dozen really key issues that have been discussed. But we've got the real benefit of being able to narrow our focus and concentrate on our key areas of responsibility, and that is largely on field and the way that we go about our business on field.
Is it unusual feeling Bucks there in round one without Eddie around? Such a big figure.
Well, we know that there's been a shift at board level, and that Eddie's presence has been ever present, and he's been a massive contributor to where this place is. But the reality is he's not there on every train. He's the president of the football club. He's not there at every training session. He's not there in meetings. He's not there day to day. Ed would have found himself down today. There's no doubt, and I'm sure that he's as excited to see the club, begin this season as any. And he'll be as passionate as he always has been. But yes, that's something that that we're not in control of, and it's outside of the focus areas that we've got to take into Friday night.
When you talk about narrowing the focus, I mean, the players clearly spent some mental energy on some of the issues in terms of racism and that sort of thing. Was there a moment where you said, "Yep, we've spent time on that. Now this needs to be footy from here"?
Yeah, well, it's never all one or all the other. We're human, so we find that our players and staff really care about the environment that they're a part of. So whilst I say that our focus, our primary focus is around becoming as good as we can as a football team, and that's where our endeavours will lie. They do care about the football club and how it goes about its business and how it's perceived as part of that. But we're relatively confident that we'll continue to look to be better in plenty of areas, and the players and staff want to be a part of that future and present as much as they possibly can.
It's hard to improve when you've lost I don't know how many 6 to 8 senior players, and you go younger. So where do you see the improvement coming from?
Oh look, we've got so many areas to improve, and when you bring in youth, that's one particular area that can improve. I mean, we've our most important and significant players, nearly all of them had broken seasons last year, and we think that there's a natural growth from that. We've got some players that have been in the system for 2 or 3 years. Probably Keane, who's coming back from his finger injury now, who we expect to play senior football and quite a bit of it this year. Trent Bianco, Nathan Murphy, who's coming of age, Braden Sire, who hasn't played a lot of footy in the last couple of years but has had a really strong pre-season. Josh Takos to take another step. So there is plenty. If you listen to the naysayers, there might be enough evidence to suggest that there's no growth there, but we don't subscribe to that.
One of the kids that's being spoken about is Ollie Henry.
Yeah.
He was running around with what appeared to be the ones. Will he debut?
Yeah, well, we'll make that decision this afternoon. But Ollie's had a really strong pre-season, along with most of our young boys. So we've been really encouraged by that crop of draftees and new recruits. But I think I've been pretty forward in suggesting that we've got to pump the brakes on those boys a little bit. Whatever we get from them, potentially in their first 24 months is going to be a bonus, but they all look pretty promising.
Does the departure of several players impact your game plan or the way you
In some way, I mean, in a real, I suppose, a functional sense, when we put our best team against our next best, it's not as even as it has been for the last 3 or 4 years, and that may affect our preparation in some form, and it can affect the development of the young players as well. So we've probably played more even teams throughout the pre-season. But you work with what you've got, and lists are set in stone. We're really positive and bullish about what we're capable of, and looking forward to getting it started.
Nathan, were you sad to read the personal recent accounts of Leon Davis and Andrew Cracker, and are you comfortable with where the club is at going forward in those areas?
Yeah, look, they were. I think when we stop and reflect on the report itself, and then the personal experiences, I think what I've learned personally out of that is to stop, listen, acknowledge, and seek to understand the experience of people that feel like they've been diminished in the environment. I think we've, as a club, we acknowledge that we need to do better. The board and the expert panel that have been put together are going to roll out the changes that need to take place and the things that need to be set in stone. That the intent might have been there, but the process hasn't been. So we'll be guided. The players and staff will be guided as much as any on how that looks, and we don't want a repeat of the incidents that we've seen that report spoke about over the last 50 years, and what Leon, Andrew, and Haritia have discussed.
Do you reflect on your time yourself, Bucks?
Yeah, I do, and I suppose one of the things that you need to consider with that is becoming more conscious of that reality, and more open-minded and open-hearted to being challenged by it. And it hasn't been a period that we've breezed through, clearly. So whatever the public front or facade of it is, and the challenge that comes through the media, that's one aspect of it. The reality is how we feel in here, and the fact that it is confronting to know that people that you love and respect so much have felt that way. But so the majority of the white privileged majority is not the experience that matters. Whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, we need to stop and listen more and understand more. And whilst we feel we might have done that in some ways, in my time at the football club, clearly we need to do better. So that's part of the journey that we're on. And I mean, everyone would see that Collingwood doesn't stand alone in this. We're part of a world, of a nation, of a state, of a society that this is ever present. And if we can, through this process, somehow have a positive impact on all of those levels, well, that would be great. But our intent is just to get our backyard set and get that improved.
Can you afford to park going forward?
We'd like to be able to, yeah. I mean,
Sorry, can you afford to not park him forward?
To not park him forward. No, he'll play midfield and forward, and the big challenge is the rotations, the length of game. We're going to see a very different style of footy. Some sides could decide to park the bus. You're going to end up with a fairly open field at times, and we've seen that through the pre-season. And as much as you prepare your players physically, the demands with the rotations, and in fact the intent of the rotations in the game time will open the game up. There's no doubt. There'll be a lot more skill error, which means there'll be a lot more broken play and opportunity, or transition play and opportunity. And we need to. That's probably the bigger issue. So blokes like Geordie will find themselves in the midfield, but there'll be very few midfielders that can run out a whole game in there under the parameters that have been set.
You addressed some questions about your future the other day in terms of doing what's right for the club. You've dealt with this sort of stuff before in the conversation around your future. Is it different this time? I mean, Eddie's not here, but is it different? Are you more relaxed about it because you've been through it and because you've been to a grand final since then and that sort of thing?
Yeah, whether I had a year to run, 2 years to run, 3 years to run, whether it was a media headline or whether it wasn't, the reality still stands that whatever is best for the club will happen and should happen. So whether it's me or you mentioned Eddie, whether it's the president, whether it's the general manager of footy, or a chief financial officer, whatever is best for the club should and will occur. I still have a belief that that my contribution can be really positive to this place. If I didn't have that belief internally, I couldn't do the job that I intend to do. But yeah, so whether it's an issue or not is less relevant. It's actually, our club is no different than any other club. We want to be better. We want to make the most of our resources and what we've got. And my challenge as a senior coach is to do my job as well as I possibly can. So I'm full of energy, looking forward to doing that.
So your hunger in that regard is undiminished. I mean, you've been in the role for a period of time.
Yeah, I think you become a little more efficient when you've been in it for a little bit longer. You waste a whole lot less energy. I don't read as much or listen to as much as I used to, and that keeps my stress levels a lot more even than they used to be. And that just gives me more energy to focus on the people that need it most, which is the players and staff.
You mentioned the rotations, and an unintended consequence maybe of that is the introduction of the concussion side, which may become an injury.
Yeah.
So in general, 2 days out before the start of the season, are you surprised by the timing of it, and are you in favour of the move?
The coaches met last week, and we were unanimous with seeing it as a positive, as something that would support fairness and and sort of improve performance and execution of the game, or the visibility, the standard of the game. So I think we were all concerned about the possibility of, if you lost a player early, that with low rotations and high game time, that potentially it's going to have a greater impact than ever to be a man down or 2 men down. So the coaches as a collective were pretty strong on that, and it came up in meetings with the AFL, and it will be up to the AFL and the Commission to whether that occurs. Haven't been shy in throwing in late rule changes or late changes to the game. It's 48 hours, maybe 48 hours from the first game of the year, but you've got to stay adaptable and agile to be able to do what the game needs.
Thanks, Gil. So were you after a concussion sub or an injury sub?
Unencumbered would be my preference, but
Would you back an under 21 sort of rookie sub?
unencumbered would be my preference.
What do you think the players think?
Oh no, they probably haven't even heard about it. Although the PA's got a lot of clout, they're probably going to vote on it this afternoon.
Will you discuss adding forward the playing group between now and the game?
Only in terms of the Guernsey that he wears and the fact that we play that team this week. I mean, Ads has still got a lot of friendships in this group, and so he should. He's been a much loved and valued member of the club over a period of time. I understand that the animosity that has been built largely externally about it, and we could have handled that trade period better. We could have said something early and lost absolutely all hand that we had, even though we had none by the end. But we could have handled it better, but it wouldn't have changed what we needed to do. So the decisions that we made might not have been executed right, but they were the ones that we knew we needed to make, and that was then. I think Ads is a fantastic footballer, and he'll continue to on his career, and I wish him all the best. But if he plays this week, I hope he doesn't get a touch. We want to challenge the Bulldogs, and we want to take the game away from them. And if he's a part of their 22, well, that'll be a part of it. But it won't be an individual focus, no.
Handling that better has been said a lot. What does that actually mean, though? How could you have handled it?
I think that we've unpacked that quite a bit, Rob. So communication is probably the main one, but then potentially being a little clearer in initial conversations. But we had no control on the leaking to media or anything like that, and unfortunately that was part of what we had to deal with in return.
Can you play fast? Will you play fast this year as a group, as a
I think it's just going to be more efficient, Pete. I think we would like to be more attacking. I think the competition would like to be more attacking, and the stand the mark rule will probably be an opportunity with that. I think that's definitely implanted an offensive mindset in most teams. And I think, I mean, I for one as a coach have, got the feeling that, it's about time for defences to be broken down. And I think the rule changes, the interchange cap and the length of game are going to make that a very real possibility. But I think most coaches would be suggesting we need our offence to catch up with our D, and that focus alone should potentially open the game up. So whether you go faster or whether you just go more efficient, I think that's the more relevant point. If you want to go fast but you miss targets, the ball's going to be coming back at you pretty quick. So I think we'll see a more open game. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw a more open game. If that results in scores, it'll end up coming back to the offensive efficiency of each side, and I think that'll actually have a big say in where sides finish, who wins games, and what the ladder looks like at the end of the year. How efficient you are in your offence when you get your opportunities.
You spoke about the league and media from Adam's perspective. How much harder did that make it for your footy club to deal with the situation last year?
Yeah, a little, but that's ever present.
What about yourself, getting focusing on coaching and focusing on what's at hand, giving all the team more focus?
Yeah, well,
How have you moved as a coach?
I probably could have prepped a little more for this. I haven't really given it a lot of focus, but I'm really looking forward to Friday night. Like, my fundamentals don't change either, and Pendles has been around the block 100 times. He's been involved in all manner of off-field issues, but the reason he's a champion is because he just focuses on what he can control and prepares himself as best he possibly can and improves himself incrementally year by year. If we all do that, we'll be in decent shape. And with all due respect, I mean, the focus hasn't been on what you guys are focusing on. Yes, we can walk and chew gum at the same time, and there are different people with different roles that are responsible for different elements of what this club is all about. And we've just come back to what our bread and butter is, and looking forward to getting out there and doing what we do.
We saw Darcy Cameron playing in the seconds today. We committed to the second ruck or the Mason. Can you give us an insight into your thinking there?
No. No, we haven't committed. So, he's done a couple of runs, and so we hope that he'll open that up over the weekend and potentially round 2. But we'll see how the next 3 or 4 days looks for him. Yeah, well, Manny's obviously copped that knock and missed both of our pracky matches. So the likelihood is that we'll give him 4 quarters on Friday afternoon rather than Friday night. And he's actually physically he's in really good nick. He's had a strong pre-season, but there's timing issues with this as well. And we're the 22 that play in round 1 aren't going to be playing 22 games this year. So we have a squad mentality. We believe we've got to share that load, and we're looking forward to doing that.